these gentlemen are about to sign what we're calling the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords. Good name. Both countries are agreeing to cease all hostilities and work to build good neighborly relationships, which have already started. 18 Cambodian prisoners of war will be released, and under this agreement, observers from ASEAN countries, including Malaysia, will be deployed to make sure that the peace prevails and endures. And I have no doubt that it will. My message to the nations of Southeast Asia is that the United States is with you 100%, and we intend to be a strong partner and friend for many generations to come. 1 year ago, we were in a different position, but now we're in the best position we've ever been, and I really do. I say it's the golden age of America, golden age of the United States. Together we'll create incredible prosperity for the nations on both sides of the Pacific Ocean and to seize new opportunities for all of our people.
Today, we turn our gaze to a corner of Southeast Asia, where ancient history continues to shape modern headlines. For generations, the border between Thailand and Cambodia has been a contested line, a source of tension that periodically flares into open conflict, tragically claiming lives and displacing communities. In July 2025, deadly exchanges involving heavy artillery and rocket fire occurred. To truly understand this persistent conflict, a conflict rooted in centuries of rivalry and the complex legacies of colonialism, we must delve deeper than the latest news cycle. What is the historical foundation of this territorial dispute? What are the underlying factors that continue to fuel these intermittent clashes? And what does the current situation tell us about the path forward for these two inextricably linked nations? Over the next 30 minutes, we'll explore these critical questions. This is Think Tank with me, Shafiah Muhibat. Let's journey back in time to an era of empires and the rise of colonial powers. At the very heart of this contention, both geographically and symbolically, lies the magnificent Preah Temple. This 11th century Hindu temple sits majestically atop a 525-meter cliff in the Dangrek Mountains. Its strategic location, its awe-inspiring beauty, and its profound cultural significance have made it a symbol of a national identity for both Thailand and Cambodia. The modern legal and political origins of the dispute, however, are rooted in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This was the era of intense European colonial expansion, with France establishing its protectorate over Cambodia and delineating its border with Siam, as Thailand was then known. The controversial 1907 map drawn by French surveyors is absolutely central to this ongoing disagreement. This map was ostensibly based on a 1904 agreement between France and Siam to follow a watershed line, the natural divide where water flows in opposite directions. Crucially, this 1907 map placed Preah squarely on the Cambodian side of the border. For Cambodia, this document has always been the definitive legal basis for their claim, a valid product of the colonial era. Thailand, however, has consistently disputed the legitimacy of this map. Bangkok argues that it was inaccurately drawn, unilaterally created by the French without full and proper consultation or agreement from the Siamese side, and that its specific delineation around Preah Vihear did not reflect the true natural watershed line. From Thailand's perspective, the actual watershed in that precise location would place the temple within its territory. This fundamental disagreement over the validity or interpretation of a colonial-era map established the primary fault line for all future tensions.
The importance of this colonial legacy has two things. The first one is it's actually become the basis of each country's claims on the ownership of that particular disputed right? And secondly, of course, the colonials, the French at that time, and also, of course, the Japanese, also were the ones who responsible in making the border lines between these countries, which then affects the claims among Cambodia and Thailand. So in terms of colonial legacy, of course, it is important as the backdrop of this conflict. But further development and modern, let's say, in modern or recent development of this conflict also, contribute to the complexity of this conflict that also attracted, arms conflict between the two countries.
Following Cambodia's independence from France in 1953, Thai forces briefly occupied the temple, asserting their claim. This act led to Cambodia taking the matter to the highest international legal authority, the International Court of Justice at The Hague in 1959. After extensive legal arguments, the ICJ delivered its landmark ruling in 1962. The court, by a 9-3 majority, sided with Cambodia, declaring that the sovereignty over the temple site belonged to Cambodia, and ordering Thailand to withdraw its forces and return any artifacts they had removed. While Thailand, under considerable international pressure, eventually complied with the ruling regarding the temple structure itself, it steadfastly maintained that the land around the temple, specifically a rough 4.6 square kilometer patch of territory, remained a disputed area and was not covered by the ICJ's specific judgment on the temple. This deliberate ambiguity, this unresolved frontier, remained a significant point of contention.
For these reasons, the Court, 1. Unanimously finds that it has jurisdiction under Article 60 of the Statute to entertain the request for interpretation of the 1962 judgment presented by Cambodia, and that this request is admissible. 2. Unanimously declares, by way of interpretation, that the judgment of 15 June 1962 decided that Cambodia had sovereignty over the whole territory of the promontory of Preah Vihear, as defined in paragraph 98 of the present judgment, and that, in consequence, Thailand was under an obligation to withdraw from that territory the Thai military or police forces or other guards or keepers that were stationed there.
In 2008, Cambodia successfully applied to UNESCO to have Preah Vihear designated a World Heritage Site. This move, celebrated in Phnom Penh as a recognition of their cultural heritage, was met with fierce protests from Thai nationalists who viewed it as a further encroachment of their sovereignty and a tacit international endorsement of Cambodia's broader territorial claims. These protests quickly escalated into military skirmishes along the border, particularly in 2018, resulting in dozens of casualties and the displacement of thousands of civilians. Seeking definitive clarity, Cambodia again returned to the ICJ in 2011, requesting an interpretation of the 1967 ruling. In 2013, the court reaffirmed Cambodia's ownership not only of the temple, but also the immediate vicinity, and ordered Thailand to withdraw its troops from that specific area. Despite this, Thailand has consistently insisted that any remaining border issues must be resolved bilaterally through direct negotiations, and has rejected further ICJ jurisdiction over the land. As the historical and legal battle continues, what are the underlying factors that continue to fuel these intermittent clashes? Let's go through some of these factors after this. This conflict is not just about a single temple or a disputed line on a map. It's a complex interplay of several powerful forces. Firstly, as we have discussed, there's the pervasive issue of incomplete border demarcation and the enduring legacy of colonialism. The problem goes beyond simple ambiguity. Disagreements arise not just from the overall 1907 map, but from conflicting interpretations of geographical features on the ground. What constitutes a watershed, where exactly a specific river bends, or how to interpret old, sometimes contradictory local treaties or customs. Areas along the 800-kilometer border remain deeply contentious, where both sides maintain military outposts, often within sight of each other, leading to constant friction and standoffs over seemingly small patches of land, fueled by differing perceptions of where the true historical and geographical line lies. The lack of physical demarcation of clearly defined markers on large sections of the border only exacerbates these tensions. Secondly, is the potent combination of fiercely held nationalist sentiment and volatile domestic politics. For both Thailand and Cambodia, the temple and the disputed territories have transcended mere geography. They are profound symbols of national pride, of sovereignty, and of deeply ingrained historical grievances. In times of internal political instability, the border issue can be easily and cynically exploited by political factions. We've seen this dynamic play out time and again.
Internal integration through external conflicts. So in this particular, reason, the state actually has domestic problems. There has domestic instability, political instability or economic instability. So one of the strategies that the government can do is actually try to restabilize, try to unite the people, domestically, by making external conflict. During these, conflicts, especially involving military, apparatus, it usually happens when Thailand government has a problem internally, when they have the, what we call it, instability of the domestic political situation. In 2006 until 2000 and let's say 2010, it was the time where political rift in Thailand, getting more, getting into high tension or become the crisis. We remember the clash between the red and yellow, between the factions, the supporters and the demonstrators against the Thaksin. It's actually also become the backdrop of the violent clash in 2011 between the Thais and Cambodia's military in that particular border. And also today, year's conflict in July also, has almost similar situations where domestically Thailand still has, the problem with legitimacy of their civilian leaders versus the authority of military leaders.
Thirdly, while less immediately apparent in the pre-war clashes, resource interests certainly play a role in the broader context of border disputes. Beyond the immediate temple area, significant overlapping claims exist, particularly in the maritime areas of the Gulf of Thailand. These zones are believed to hold vast, untapped hydrocarbon reserves, oil and natural gas. These economic stakes add another layer of strategic complexity, ensuring that a full border resolution isn't just about ancient history, but about future prosperity and national resources. Finally, the limitations of existing regional mechanisms for dispute resolution within ASEAN are a critical factor. ASEAN's foundational principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of member states often limits its ability to effectively mediate or impose solutions in disputes between its own members. Both Thailand and Cambodia are long-standing ASEAN members. Yet, the organization has consistently struggled to bring about a lasting resolution to this protracted conflict. ASEAN's role has largely been confined to issuing calls for restraint and offering to facilitate dialogue, rather than actively mediating or exporting solutions. Cambodia's repeated recourse to the International Court of Justice and Thailand's consistent preference for bilateral talks highlight this diplomatic impasse within the regional body.
The only, workable approach by ASEAN that usually, apply is using what's so-called the soft instruments of constructive engagement. This is what ASEAN did with Vietnam, with Laos, and with the other the rest of later ASEAN member states to get them into ASEAN. So constructive engagements usually become the sole options for ASEAN and its member states to approach these particular issues. And second one, it's because there is no clear mechanism. Mostly, to resolve this issue is actually very rely on individual member states' initiatives.
These four factors intertwine, creating a complex and volatile dynamic along the Thai-Cambodian border. With this condition, where do we go from here? Let's discuss further after this. Following the deadly exchanges in July, the immediate cessation of hostilities, achieved through Malaysian mediation, was a crucial relief. The two neighbors agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire after nearly a week of hostilities that saw at least 38 mostly civilian deaths and displaced nearly 300,000 more.
At 7. And followed by meeting with defense attaches led by the chair of ASEAN if both sides are agreeable. And 3, to convene a meeting of the General Border Committee, GBC, on 4th August 2025 to be hosted by Cambodia. As the current chair of ASEAN, Malaysia stands ready to coordinate and observe a team to verify and ensure its implementation. Malaysia will also consult with fellow ASEAN member states to participate in the observation effort, reflecting a regional commitment to supporting peace on the ground. Both sides also agreed to resume direct communications between both prime ministers, foreign ministers, and defense ministers. The foreign ministers and defense ministers of Malaysia, Cambodia, and Thailand have been instructed to develop a detailed mechanism for the implementation, verification, and reporting of the ceasefire. This mechanism will serve as a foundation for sustained peace and accountability. The meeting reaffirms the shared resolve of Malaysia, Cambodia, and Thailand to uphold the principles of international law, peaceful coexistence, and multilateral cooperation in the pursuit of a just and lasting resolution to the situation.
But the ceasefire was quickly tested when Thailand's army accused Cambodia of launching attacks in multiple areas mere days afterwards, claims Cambodia rejected. Pressure from the US had contributed to the agreement. The US had warned that it might not proceed with trade deals with either country if hostilities continued, giving both sides a face-saving justification for halting the clashes.
Called the prime ministers of each, and I said, we're not going to make a trade deal unless you settle the war. A lot of people are killed, you know that, in a short period of time. The border, they're fighting pretty like wild. And I spoke to both of the prime ministers, and I think by the time I got off, I think they want to settle now. I know they're meeting today or tomorrow, and we're going to work with them.
While external pressure and mediation can create space for dialogue, a fundamental breakthrough remains elusive. This highlights a critical truth. External efforts alone, while important for humanitarian efforts and preventing wider escalation, cannot unilaterally resolve the deep-seated issues at play. The path to a lasting peace is undoubtedly arduous, requiring far more than just a temporary ceasefire. It demands genuine political will from both sides, a courageous readiness to engage in good faith negotiations that acknowledge each other's legitimate concerns and historical narratives, even when those narratives diverge significantly.
I think started with Thailand by accepting the ICJ rule. That's a key, one of the key. And then to create the buffer zone again, what I said, on the surrounding areas of these disputed temples, for instance. I think that will be the second key. And also the two governments need to work each other, and also more open on their intention on how to manage their borderlines, because the area that becomes ambiguous the ICJ decision is not that wide actually. It's only 5 kilometers wide. But the borderlines that has the trouble between these two countries, I think stretching about 500 kilometers. So they need to really, assess carefully their foreign policy, not to, deepen the crisis into a prolonged, military, clash.
Compromise, often a difficult word in the lexicon of national sovereignty, will be essential. This isn't about one side losing to the other, but rather about both finding a mutually acceptable solution that prioritizes stability and the welfare of their citizens. This might involve exploring creative solutions such as joint management of disputed areas, international arbitration with binding outcomes, or demilitarized zones coupled with robust monitoring mechanisms. Ultimately, the responsibility rests squarely with the leaders in Bangkok and Phnom Penh to rise above the cycle of historical grievances and political expediency. They must recognize that a peaceful, well-demarcated border offers far greater prosperity, security, and human dignity for both nations than any symbolic victory achieved through continued conflict. The economic benefit of open borders, increased trade, and collaborative development projects in the border regions would far outweigh the perceived gains of continued confrontation. Only through consistent, sustained dialogue, underpinned by a mutual commitment to peace, can these two nations truly begin to write a new chapter, one that finally silences the enduring echoes of conflict along their shared borders and ushers in an era of stability and cooperation. Thank you for watching. Until next time.
The government of Malaysia, Cambodia, and Thailand issued this joint press release following the special meeting chaired, hosted, and witnessed by Prime Minister Anwar Putrajaya and participated by Cambodia's Prime Minister Samdech Mahaprabod Dipaday Manet and Thailand's Chai, and co-organized by the United States of America with the active participation of the People's Republic of China to promote a peaceful resolution to the ongoing situation. Prime Minister Hun Manet and Acting Minister Chai have expressed their positions and willingness to immediate ceasefire, and violence. The United States President Donald J. Trump has been in contact with the leaders countries, urging the leaders to find peaceful resolution to the conflict. The Chinese side have kept close contact with Thailand and Malaysia and relevant countries to actively promote dialogue, ceasefire, and restoring peace. The presence and collaboration of all parties underscore the shared commitment to peace, dialogue, and regional stability.